Hello, everybody. I'm Terry Jenkins, and welcome to another episode of Be Terrific Presents. This is episode 8, and we just finished watching episode 9 of Full Metal Alchemist. With me tonight, I have Tehran and Elizabeth. Joseph is on hiatus. You guys can say hi.
Hi. Like,
Hi guys.
All right. So, the episode starts off with their childhood friend Winry, and she's buying all this stuff using Edward's military account, and she ends up giving him just one gift that I'm pretty sure she could have gotten for free.
Yeah.
So that's how the episode starts, and then Ed gets his first official mission where he has to go to Usewell to help with the mine.
Inspection of the mine.
Yeah, the inspection of the mines. So we'll start there. So I feel like this is another good breather episode. You know, we're 2 episodes removed from Nina's death.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is another great example of character development, because what we learned about Ed in this episode is he's now building his reputation apart from being in the military, since the military has such a bad reputation, and you know, Ed's building his own reputation away from the military. So it's a good character development episode.
Yeah, it's also very big on Mustang again, and his his level of intelligence and planning that he has. He's just, oh yeah, why don't you guys go east, because they're probably gonna send me over there,
Right. Yeah, it's so Liz, I don't know if I told you, Mustang is my favorite character because I feel like he's like the Batman Captain America of this Full Metal Alchemist universe.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, I'm just a huge Mustang fan. But all right, so let's talk about, so then they get to Usewell, and then they meet the townspeople. The townspeople try to charge him a lot of money, and then they find out that he's a state alchemist, and then they kick him out. So Liz, like I was explaining to you earlier, the military has a really bad rap, and this episode actually explains why. And then you actually met Lieutenant Yogi, who kind of represents why people hate the military.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he seemed greedy, very greedy.
So then Edward ends up going with Lieutenant Yogi, I guess, to learn more, and Yogi ends up bribing Ed. And then right after the bribe, they go and they destroy the Lyra goes, who is with Lieutenant Yogi. They go and they destroy the inn, which
It seemed unnecessary at that point.
But. Yeah. I guess they were trying to prove a point.
Yeah, but they could have waited till Ed left.
I guess if you give me hush money, I guess I'm not gonna say much, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm like. Ed, not that Ed was gonna leave, in that state, but still, like, it would have been a smarter plan. Like, oh, they're on their way, they're leaving. Now we can go.
I guess it was like reckless on their end. They're just acting impulsively or something.
Yeah.
Well, it's really interesting because it's like you already know you have power over the people. You destroy the inn, which is essentially like one of very few ways of them making money, and you're trying to tax them, but you're taking away all their ways of making money. So how are they supposed to pay you? Like eventually, it's reckless, but it's also like not a lot of
It
force.
doesn't make any financial sense either.
Right. You know, like
you would want them to be working harder, to make your money.
Yeah.
See, backwards, it was stupid because it's like you're gonna tax them all this money, but then take away their like source of income. Like makes no sense.
Right. So then Ed gets this idea after he meets with the townspeople about turning stuff into gold, and he actually bribes Yogi with the gold. He gets Yogi to sign the deed, and it's supposed to be a hush hush operation, and then gives the deed essentially to the townspeople for one night stay. Yogi finds out because the gold turns back into stone, which is brilliant. I still don't understand how that works. I don't know if alchemists can put a time limit on how long things can stay transmuted, but it was still brilliant.
Well, I think they were always stone. They were just covered in what looked like gold.
Yeah, you know what? That makes sense because he used coins.
Mm-hmm. So it was essentially gold plated.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, because I was a little thrown off. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah, like I said, this is like my fifth time watching the whole series again, and every time I see this episode, I always think like, how did he do that?
Yeah, they probably tried to test them or something else. Because what do you do with gold bars? You're gonna test it.
Yeah, but this goes back to then he's just not a really smart individual, Yogi, because why didn't you test it before?
He said, "Oh, shiny."
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was definitely ADHD at that moment. Like,
mm-hmm.
So then that leads to Yogi basically sending Lyra out, who is his alchemist. And so adding a fight, which is essentially, I put in my notes, it's basically win versus still.
Yeah, and that's a pretty easy win.
Yeah. So Edward, and like I said, I remember the first time I watched it, I thought he had cut her arm off, and I was like, "Yeah, man, you went from being scared of a serial killer to just cutting off people's arms." Like,
no, I think that when he went to slash at Al in the last episode, I think he's very mindful now about what when he turns that arm into a blade. I think he's very mindful as to what he's doing.
Yeah, he's more in control of his emotions. So Ed easily wins the fight, and then the townspeople beat up Yogi. And then we find out that Mustang and Hawkeye are both being promoted. They're being moved to East. And we also find out that he sent Ed here to clear out Yogi, essentially.
Yeah.
That they have an easier time in Eastern headquarters. So again, this goes back to Mustang is the best character in the series. If you don't agree with that, you don't know what you're talking about. Best character. The series
really is.
Flame Alchemist.
Well, you know what? I don't think he would shine as much if he was the main character.
Nah, he probably wouldn't.
Because he like you said, he's like Batman. He works in the shadows.
Yeah.
You don't know what he's about to do next.
He does get a spotlight episode that actually is called The Flame Alchemist.
Yes.
So I can't wait for that episode. That's like one of my favorite episodes.
I can't wait till we do Brotherhood and we get that
Brotherhood is. I don't know if we're gonna tackle Brotherhood. We might. We'll talk about it.
But even if we go to that one episode where he's just going in on the homunculi.
Oh man. Well, he has two episodes like that. There's the love one, and then there's the envy one.
Envy, where
the envy one is
And
So I might have to go watch that after we get done with this.
it makes matters worse when you find out whose body Envy is in.
Yes.
And you're just like, ooh, dang. Why?
Yeah. I would have to say Envy is my favorite villain in both series.
They give Envy the most human emotions. You know? Like they all have like a certain level of humanity, but Envy gets most.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, so that was essentially the episode. It was very cut and dry, very what's the term that they always say about Superman shows? It was it's a typical monster of the week kind of episode. Like, oh, we go to a town, there's a bad guy, we defeat the bad guy, we move on.
Yeah.
But again, I think overall, and we'll probably say this every episode. I think it does wonders for character development for Ed. Not so much Al. This was definitely a more Edward centric episode.
Yeah. Well, it also helped bring his spirit back up from because early on in the episode he was obviously emotionally distressed, and then it made it worse when he got kicked out of the inn. And then, he was actually finally able to do something for somebody else, and it really brought him to a different mindset.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of shows you why he was the way he was in the first episode with Ornello.
Right. Yeah. So Liz, whenever you get the chance.
It's all still warming up to me. I didn't get a chance to like watch anything. I've just been all over the place this past week.
Well, like I told you when you first started, the good thing about these episodes they're all flashbacks. So the only, episode 1 and 2, you really don't need to see. I'm just suggesting you watch them, but everything else, like everything that plays a major part in the series, you have already actually seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
definitely.
And so long as you make these episodes, it's, you're not gonna be lost. Because I
feel like warming up to like all the characters and learning the names and stuff like that.
Like my first watch through, I watched it on DVD actually, and I started collecting the series. So I watched episodes. You're gonna laugh at me. I watched episodes 1 through 4, and then they didn't have volume 2 or volume 3, so I didn't see Nina's death, and I also didn't see these. The third volume is episodes 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? So I didn't see all these episodes. The very next episode I watched after episode 4 was episode 13. Right? And I'm watching it because I'm not thinking that there's all this backstory or anything. I'm thinking everything's just kind of like Monster of the Week kind of thing. We're watching, you know what I mean? So, I didn't even know about this whole flashback stories. So I was able to watch the whole series and still enjoy the series from episode 13 onward. But when I went back and did my second watch through, once I had volumes 2 and 3, I was like, oh, that jerk.
It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I was like, oh. And then actually, there's a lot of stuff that makes more sense once you realize that there was, how many episodes was that? That's 8 episodes that I essentially didn't know about, right? It was like, oh, those 8 episodes explain a little more in detail about what's going on.
This next episode is an interesting one. I feel like they should have played on it a little more, like further down the line.
Yeah.
Or given the woman behind the mask some hidden meaning, like again later on down the line.
Yeah, for sure. So for everybody who's watching this, episode 10 is definitely, if you're into female, I was gonna say heroes, but I guess she's more of an anti-hero.
Robin Hood. It says it right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's like Catwoman, really, if you think about it. Like her whole persona is very Catwoman-esque.
Yes, very.
The next episode is definitely for you. But yeah, so that was episode 9. Out of 5 stars, Liz, you give it what?
I go 4.
You go for? Okay.
Yeah.
Turn on.
It's always a 5 for me.
Always a 5. I'm gonna
Always
be
a
honest.
5.
I'm gonna be honest. Especially since this is my 5th watch through. I think I would give it a solid 4 as well. I don't like it does a good job at character development for Ed, and I feel like storyline wise it adds a little more value to it, but I feel like if you were to take this episode out, I don't think it does any damage to the series as a whole, if that makes any sense.
That is true.
So I would give it a 4. I would only give a, for me personally, I would only give an episode 5 if it's like, oh man, you cannot take this episode out and still have the same series. Like
Okay.
Needle Step. Like Needle Step is a 5. It's
Yeah,
it's a 6.
that.
It's a 6 out of 5.
Definitely.
Like without that, I feel like, oh man. Like again, when I watched it the second time and actually watched that for the first time, I was like, I think I love Ed even more. You know, so for me, that's how I kind of view the episodes. Like, all right, if I take this episode out, does it really hurt? Blah blah blah. So altogether, it's like a 4.5 out of 5 from my crew. So, all right. So next episode is episode 10, The Phantom Thief. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the bell to be notified of new videos. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video, comment on the video, and share the video. It helps us grow. Until next time, be terrific. And we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
All right.